Hello and welcome. What the fuck? We'll just restart that. Blip, 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 blip. Here we go. Hello and welcome to Three's a Crime, a true crime podcast. I'm Tori.
I'm Emily.
And I'm Lindsey.
And that's our intro.
Here we are professional podcasters.
We're podcasters, bitches. Emily is going to tell us about...
Tell us a story.
Fucking fudging Katherine Knight.
Oh, this fucking
taking
bitch.
Your ass to Lady Town.
Lady?
Okay. Ow! You get bitch.
Oh my gosh.
Little girl. Hi. You are causing a ruckus. You're not supposed to do that.
She just like, we were like, her.
Yeah, you. That's you we're talking about.
Don't be so bitey with your sharp teeth. Puppies have the sharpest teeth.
They truly do.
You look just like my pebbles.
Yes, you do.
That was so cute.
Everybody needs this self-esteem, this level of self-esteem.
Oh my gosh. Like, hey girl, what's up? The puppy just walked up to the mirror, kind of checked herself out with a good head nod, and then licked the mirror. So
she's so sweet though. She's a very empathetic dog. Cause like when Hodor is barking because he wants to get up on the couch and there's no room, she like goes over and she licks him. Like
She's
she
very
gives
sweet.
him kisses.
So we're gonna talk about Katherine Mary Knight. So I wanted to cover this one because this one is a doozy. This takes place in Australia.
She's Australian.
Australia. Oh yeah. In last podcast, you were totally right. They're fucking examples of Australian accent.
He always
from Boston.
Henry ends up being either really British or German instead of
Australia.
Oh yeah, it always just
my friend Steve,
melds.
the first time I met him, so my friend Steve used to live in LA and he used to do voiceover work. So he can do
that's cool.
He can do accents really well. And he had me he does an Australian one so well, and he told me this whole story about how he used to use it to pick up chicks and he would pretend he was Australian. So at my friend's bachelorette party, I ended up meeting this guy from Australia and I didn't believe him, so I made him show me his passport.
I totally would have done that too. Every time I hear someone with an accent, I'm like, that's not fucking real. I don't believe you. You're not from England.
So like apparently I've always been slightly distrustful. So
except for this fucking bitch.
Yeah, so I want to give like a major trigger warning. There is so many things. We're gonna start with her parents. So her mother's name was Barbara, and they were living in Aberdeen, Australia, which
Aberdeen.
we have in Aberdeen, Washington. Nope. What
is that?
She's chewing on my cord.
Oh no.
Hey kiddo,
You're gonna have to
guess
go
what I
find
think
her
that
that
means. You lost your privileges. I gave you a chance. I'm sorry.
You're good until then, baby.
You were.
Regulators.
Okay.
Man.
Okay.
It was a clear black night. Clear white moon, Warren G was on the street. Tried
This fucking bitch is just
She's wrapping up a
ripping
fucking
this
story.
out.
Man, I'm having like
She's
high school flashbacks.
Okay.
Also known as Emily's toddler years.
Yep. That is what that is. Meat pockets.
Meat pockets, Emil, meat pockets,
Emil,
taking
meat
us to
pocket
Lady
pockets.
Town.
We
So yeah, Lady Town. So I wanted to do this also because is March National Women's Month? Is that
Yeah,
how
it's
okay.
like women's history. Or
Well,
women's
here's some
something like
real fucked up history. Katherine Mary Knight, her mother's name was Barbara. She lived in Aberdeen in New South Wales, which is in Australia, to her husband Jack. And they had 4 sons before Barbara began an adulterous relationship with a dude named Ken.
So Barbie and Ken.
Barbie and Ken.
Ken was a co-worker of Barbara's husband.
Bang! If you want to sponsor us,
That's
I live on your soda. Your what are you?
Energy drink.
Energy drink.
Energy drink.
So Barbara started boning Ken, and because this town was really, really small, this caused like a whole issue. Everybody knew. They were like, So because of all this chaos and craziness, it forced them to leave Aberdeen because people were being dicks to them everywhere.
Adulterers.
I know, and it was Barbie and Ken. They're the ones that moved. They moved to Maury, I think is how you say it. None of her 4 sons went with her. The 2 older boys continued to reside with their father, Jack, while the 2 younger sons went to be raised by an aunt in Sydney, Australia.
Like Maury Povich. So
I
Ken
don't
could
think
find
so.
out that he was the father. I'm sorry. See, Emily does this shit to me all the time.
I was
So I
legit
have
thinking
got
the
to
same
get her
thing.
back.
I know. Every time I'm like, this is a short episode. This is the time. This is why it never is. It's
Yeah.
never actually a short episode. So then she had 4 additional children with Ken. So she has 8 fucking kids. Barbie and Ken have
My
8 fucking
God.
kids at this point.
Is one of them named Skipper?
Is that a joke I'm supposed to know?
Barbie's little sister was named Skipper.
Really?
Yeah.
Barbie didn't have a little sister.
Barbie did have a little sister.
She did a skipper.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I've never heard this in my
Oh,
life.
no.
Yeah,
We
but,
both
we
go
are
to
both
look.
like,
Where did she go?
Maybe they got rid of her.
Let's talk about that true crime
Skipper.
story. I wonder why they named her Skipper.
Skipper
kind of a cute
Roberts
name.
is a doll created by Mattel in 1964 to be Barbie's younger sister, as well as to oppose controversies directed at Barbie. Since Skipper was introduced, she has changed immensely. Courtesy of Wikipedia. When she first came out, she was 9.25 inches in height compared to Barbie's 11.5. Then, as newer versions were released, she gradually became taller with an older appearance, eventually turning out to be almost as tall as Barbie. And now, back to Emily. 4
Two
kids
went
stayed
to-
with their dad, 2 went to
But
with an
then
aunt.
she had 4 additional with Ken. So she had 8, including twin girls born in 1955 in Tenterfield. Katherine Knight was the younger of the twins. In 1959, when Katherine Knight was 4, Jack, who was her mother's first husband, died, and his 2 boys who had been living with him moved in with Barbara. Apart from her twin, the only person that Knight was close to was her uncle Oscar Knight, who was a champion horseman. And she was devastated when he committed suicide in 1969.
Wait, what is a horseman? Is that like a jockey?
I
Or
think it's like, I don't know. Something,
Maybe raises.
apparently, I
Yeah.
didn't look it up.
Okay.
Apparently, my research is the basicest.
If anybody knows, let us know what a horseman
Maybe
is.
if you know what a horseman is.
Maybe it's like the people that, like you said, raise them, train them,
Maybe
you know,
that's
break
one.
them.
Or maybe they're the,
He committed suicide in 1969, and she continues to maintain that his ghost visits her. This is the year that her family moved back to Aberdeen. So Knight's father, Ken. So Ken was actually her dad. Knight's father, Ken, was a super duper alcoholic. He openly used violence and intimidation to rape her mother up to 10 times a day.
We're still talking. So Ken was raping Barbie.
Yeah.
They don't put that on the box. It's not funny. Rape is not funny. Rape is not
no,
funny.
but good God.
matter of fact.
That
We're
was
like,
beautiful.
they don't put that on the box.
Joke is beautiful.
So, yeah, Ken and Barbie were still married, but he still fucking
Was a piece of shit.
was a piece of shit.
And that's really, you know what, that's really hard though, too, because for a really long time, especially at this point in time, like marital rape was not considered a
No.
thing. So you really had no recourse as a
Yep.
woman to be able to, you know, defend yourself from that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Barbie, I'm just gonna keep calling her that, would often turn to Barbie in turn often told her daughters intimate details of her sex life
Ugh.
and how much she hated sex with men.
Like, that's a lot of shit to put on your kids, man.
Yeah. Catherine also claims that she was frequently sexually abused by several members of her family, but not by her father, which continued until she was 11. As she got older, she was a pleasant girl most of the time, but she experienced uncontrollable rage in response to minor upsets. In high school, she became kind of a loner and is remembered by classmates as a bully who stood over smaller children. She assaulted at least one boy at school with a weapon and was once injured by a teacher who was found to have acted in self-defense. When she was not in a rage, Knight was a model student and often earned awards for her good behavior.
Wow.
Weird.
That's
weird.
a lot of.
Yeah. So she actually left school at 15. She never learned how to read or write. And I'm not laughing because that's funny. I'm laughing because she sucks. Okay. Like it
And
just adds.
That's so long.
But wait a minute. How could she be doing well in school and not be able to read or write?
It said that she had good behavior.
Oh.
She got awards for good behavior and was a model student.
When I was in second grade, I sat next to a kid and his name was Chris. And I don't remember what his last name is, but it started with a T. And, you know, like little kids, when they write, like all their letters are together. And I remember I like thought this kid's name was Christ for an entire year.
You're like, wow, I want to meet your parents.
Like, whoa.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I just got a message from my college roommate who still lives in my hometown. She said, I just listened to the Illest podcast. Awesome job. Plus, I'm a bit psyched that you told the story about the cops busting us in the dorm.
Oh, yeah, that was that friend.
That
Oh
was
my
that
God,
friend.
that's
That's
awesome.
bad.
So she left school at 15 without learning how to read or write. She gained employment as a cutter in a clothing factory. 12 months later, she left to start what she referred to as her, quote, dream job. Cutting up offal, which I Googled because these are all weird Australian terms.
Mhm.
Sorry, Australians. Hey, we have Australian listeners.
Do we?
Yeah, it is the entrails and internal organs of animals.
This was her dream job?
Yep. At the local abattoir, which is a slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
She was quickly promoted to boning. Nice. And given and given her own
Such a teenage boy.
and given her own set of butcher knives. At home, she hung the knives over her beds so that they, quote, would always be handy if I needed them.
Well, I mean, okay, if you've been the victim of assault throughout your growing up life, I can see how that would possibly, potentially make you feel more comfortable to have them close
I
by.
think I picture them incorrectly, so it makes me laugh. I literally picture, like, on her ceiling, knives, like, pointing downward that could murder her at any
See,
second.
I was picturing
Which I
them-
know is not correct.
I
but
was
it's
picturing
just-
them strung up like a
Like a light
little
string
lanyard
lights or something.
Yeah, string instead of string lights, I use knives.
String knives.
Ooh, have you ever done the hatchet throwing? That is
Uh-uh.
super fun. There's a place. Well,
I've
there's a
seen it.
couple
There's a couple
now.
on Division and
There's some just
We
like
were-
right up the street.
Yeah,
that
we
one.
went. Yes, but we went to Heber Hatchets on Division,
Mhm.
and that was a lot of
that's a
fun.
nice-
But I tell you what, man, ooh, your arm will hurt the next
My
day.
mom won
Yeah.
an axe throwing competition once.
I would not have won.
When we would go camping, we used to have property on the St. Joe River, and Calder is like a city that's really close. City. It's literally like not it's like
2 stoplights
18
and
yeah. And they had a thing called Calder Days where I remember I took place in gambling and I was a small child. But you'd have like we'd float rubber duckies down the river and you'd bet on who
'em,
would
yeah.
win. Yeah. And then they also had an axe throwing competition at this Calder Days. It was like an outdoor like mini fair basically, but
Uh-huh.
it was tiny. And she won the women's axe throwing competition. And to this day, she still has the little placard. It's like a wooden placard and someone like engraved like a person like holding an axe. And on the back it says women's axe throwing competition in the year, but they spelled women's wrong. So it says Weemons. And every time we see it, we're
Weemons.
like, remember that time you won the Weemons axe throwing contest?
So you do not want to mess with the women in Emily's family.
you really don't.
Because
Shovels,
mama
axes.
mama can throw an axe and Oma will hit you with the shovel. You've birthed a lot of you haven't.
I
but you
have.
have assisted in the birth of many puppies.
I could bring something back to life because one
Yes.
puppy came out not breathing and I saved
Lazarus.
its life. And now it's
Aw.
the goodest. He's the goodest boy.
Aw.
Yeah, he's very cute.
Emily and I are very big into animal rescue.
Yes,
we
they are.
are very big into animal rescue. That is how we met.
It is how we
Animal
met.
rescue. Okay, so the other thing that I wanted to say was it was common for people to have jobs in this like meat processing industry in Aberdeen. It's just like a
That's just like where
That's
everybody
probably
works.
like the main.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
some places
thing in
had
the-
mills and
yeah.
yeah.
This is your first trigger warning. She frequently called the position her dream job. Her favorite part of the job was nicking arteries on pigs and watching them bleed out. So she loved nicking arteries. The other thing that she loved doing was shooting pigs in the head with a nail gun. I have heard is super not great, right? But like, I feel like at some point in my life, I heard that that's how they do that.
So they covered this on Morbid with the because they had this same conversation. Like
Okay.
a normal nail gun, no, but they're like that is how
There's a
slaughterhouses.
specific.
It's like a bolt.
Yeah.
It's like a
And-
bolt gun, isn't it? When that's just
Yeah.
like, because I think the bolt is like instant.
I think when they were on Morbid though, they were saying that like it makes them like brain dead, but not like, but they're not dead. I don't know. Whatever. It's horrifying, and I don't.
Here's the other
Let's-
thing. Oh, one more thing, and then I'm done. Pigs are smarter than dogs.
Yes, they're like super close to humans on the scale of like
Of-
smart.
Of like self awareness
Intelligence and self-aware.
I heard that she would like laugh as it was like happening.
Mm.
Yeah. Now we're gonna talk about David Kellet. So David Kellet met Katherine in 1973. He was one of her coworkers. Super duper duper alcoholic. Okay. Kellet had previously worked for the railways at Coffs Harbor. I said random note. His best friend was killed in front of him in a shunting accident, which I Googled. In railway operations is the process of sorting items of rolling stock into complete trains, or the reverse. In the US, this is known as switching.
When they switch the track,
I believe so.
the term shunter and switcher are applied not only to locomotives but to employees engaged on the ground with shunting switching operations. The task of such personnel is particularly dangerous because not only is there the risk of being run over, but on some railway systems, particularly ones that use buffer and chain / screw coupling systems, the shunters have to get between the wagons or carriages in order to complete coupling and uncoupling. So yeah, I think that is what it is.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And he saw his friend get run over by a train.
Yep.
Which makes me think of the beginning of Fried Green Tomatoes.
Oh,
I've never seen that movie.
Oh,
I know, I've heard it's really good. I know.
it's so good, but I always.
Sorry.
It's so good, but it's just pure heartbreak the whole way through. But it's just,
Yeah.
it's so good.
It is a beautiful story.
It is.
And Cicely Tyson was awesome in that. R.I.P. Cicely.
So his friend died in front of him in a shunting accident. He was also present when a train hit a school bus in Kempsey, killing 6 children.
Dude, what is this dude?
This is
I
in
mean, I could
1968,
probably be a heavy alcoholic as well. That's a lot of
Yeah.
trauma to
So,
process.
That's what I was going to say was, it says he helped rescue the injured and remove the dead bodies. His heavy drinking has been attributed to these incidents.
Wow.
After this, he was transferred to Muswellbrook. I think I'm saying that right. After causing several train derailments due to falling asleep while shunting. His behavior deteriorated and he eventually lost his job, but he soon got to work at the nearby Aberdeen Abattoir, where he became close friends with Knight's brother. She completely dominated him. If he got into a fight, she would literally like a physical fight, like at a bar. He would step in and back him up with like her fist. She'd be like, fucking come at me, bro. In Aberdeen, she was renowned for offering armed combat to anyone who upset her. Knight married Kellet in 1974 at her request.
So wait, so she said to him, "Let's get married."
Yeah,
like
she
he
wanted-
did not
No.
propose to her. She
No, the couple arrived at the service on her motorcycle with a very intoxicated Kellet on the back seat. So she literally rolls up on her own motorcycle with drunk ass broski, like
On the
just
back.
chilling on the back of her bike, which
I wonder if she was wearing a dress.
it's just funny to think about.
It
I
is
don't know
funny.
why that's funny.
Obviously we wouldn't be talking about her if she didn't do some really bad stuff. But at this point, I'm kind of like, oh, well, she was kind of a badass. Like she's getting into
Yeah.
fisticuffs.
As soon as they arrived, Knight's mother, Barbara, pulled Kellet aside and gave him some advice.
Don't
Do She said, quote, "Watch out. You better watch this one or she'll fucking kill you. Stir her up the wrong way or do the wrong thing and you're fucked. Don't ever think of playing up on her," which means cheating. "She'll fucking kill you." And that was her mother talking. She told me she's got something to lose. She's got a screw loose somewhere. On their wedding night, she strangled him.
Like to
She-
death
no,
or like
No. She almost killed him after they had sex. When they asked, why the fuck she did this, it was because he fell asleep only having sex 3 times. And she had heard from friends that, like, you can have it like 5 or 6 times on, like, your wedding night. Their marriage was particularly violent. On one occasion, Kellet had arrived home late from a dart competition, and he'd actually, like, made the finals in this dart competition. A super pregnant Knight burned all of his clothing and shoes before hitting him across the back of the head with a frying pan when he walked in the door.
Oh my God.
In fear for his life, Kellet fled the home and collapsed at a neighbor's house. He was later treated for a fractured skull. Police wanted to charge her, but Knight talked Kellet into dropping the charges. She had this tendency of every time something happened with a man like this, she would say, like, he beats the fuck out of me and it was just in self-defense. And she's pregnant. In May 1976, shortly after the birth of their first child, Melissa Ann, which is a cute name, Kellet left her for another woman and moved to Queensland, Australia.
It's probably the smartest move this guy's made.
The next day, Knight was seen pushing her new baby in a stroller down the main street, violently throwing it from, like, side to side. I laugh when I'm uncomfortable. It's not funny, but, like, don't ever invite me to a funeral because I'll laugh. I can't help it. She was admitted to St. Elmo's Hospital, which I think is like a psychiatric hospital because it said that she stayed there for a couple weeks. She was admitted to St. Elmo's Hospital in Tamworth, where she was diagnosed with postpartum depression. A few weeks after her diagnosis, Knight placed 2-month-old Melissa on a railway line shortly before a train was coming. Then she stole an axe, went into town, and threatened to kill several people. A man known as Old Ted.
Oh, Ted.
Old Ted.
Pretty sure they shouldn't have released her. Because, like, this is right
Correct.
after she's released.
A dude known as Old Ted, who was foraging near the railway line, found and rescued Melissa only minutes before the train passed.
God.
Knight was arrested and taken again to St. Elmo's Hospital, but she signed herself out the following day.
If you try to kill your baby with the train and then you threaten people with an axe, like, I don't think you should be able to sign yourself out. Like, that seems like the kind of involuntary commitment level type jazz.
A few days later, Knight slashed the face of a woman with one of her knives and demanded she drive her to Queensland to find Kellet. This is like a random lady. She like walks up and she's like, "Hey, fucking drive me to Queensland." The woman escaped after they stopped at a service station, but by the time police arrived, Knight had taken another random little boy hostage and was threatening him with the knife. She was disarmed when police attacked her with brooms, and she was admitted to the Morissette Psychiatric Hospital. I never really found any more information on why they had brooms, but that's... So they attacked her with brooms. So at this point, she's in a psychiatric hospital. Knight told the nurses that she had intended to kill the mechanic at the service station because he had repaired Kellet's car, which allowed him to leave her. And then she was going to kill both her husband and his mother when she arrived in Queensland.
Oh, wow.
So she straight up was like, "You fixed my husband's car and that made him able to leave me.
So you're
Fuck
fucked."
off." Yeah. When police informed Kellet of the incident, he left his girlfriend along with his mother, and they both moved to Aberdeen to support her. So they moved back. He and his mom moved back.
to support Catherine?
To support Catherine. I wrote WTF. What the fuck? Maybe because she almost killed their baby and he was like, "Oh, maybe we should like..."
Maybe I should
maybe I
actually
need to be
Maybe?
there.
I don't know. Yeah.
save my child.
Yeah. Knight was released on August 9th, 1976 into the care of her mother-in-law. Along with Kellet, they moved to Woodridge, a suburb of Brisbane. Isn't that how you say that?
Mhm.
Brisbane, Australia. She obtained a job at the Dinmore Meatworks. On March 6, 1980, they had another daughter, Natasha Marie. Maria spelled M-A-R-E-E. How cute is that? In 1984, Knight left Kellet.
You gotta find something
It's
sweet
true.
in these stories just to keep you
I'm like,
going.
the kids' names are really nice. In 1984, Knight left Kellet and moved in with her parents in Aberdeen, then to a rented house in nearby Muswellbrook.
So now this time she's
left him now. She moved in with her parents. Okay. She returned to work at the abattoir, but she injured her back the following year and went on disability. And the Australian government gave her a housing commission house, which I assume is just like a...
Probably like a Section 8 type thing.
Yeah. So the next man, she has a string of gentlemen. So this is David Saunders. So Knight met 38-year-old minor David Saunders in 1986. A few months later, he moved in with her and her 2 daughters, although he kept his old apartment in Scone. Knight soon became randomly jealous and would often throw him out. She said that she didn't trust what he was doing when she wasn't around. And then every time she kicked him out, he would move back to his apartment in Scone, and then she would eventually come back and be like, "Oh my God, I love you. Please come back." Trigger warning.
Oh.
In May of 1987, she cut the throat of his 8-week-old dingo puppy in front of him for no more reason than she was cranky.
Oh my god.
I can assure you, I'm not a violent person, but if anybody hurt my dog, like
I would
stab
rage.
you.
I would
I
literally.
would stab you.
It would be the end.
In June 1988, she gave birth to their third daughter, Sarah.
Jesus. Just
I know. Knocking
pumping
them
out
out.
the girls.
She prompted Saunders to put a deposit on a house, which Knight paid off with her workers' compensation, which came through in 1989. So they had a house that was paid for. She decorated the house with animal skins, skulls, horns, rusty animal traps, leather jackets, old boots, machetes, rakes, and pitchforks. No space, including the ceiling, was left uncovered. So she just had like a bunch of
That's
weird
crazy.
animal things.
This explains the Lady Leatherface.
Yeah.
part,
Yes.
'cause that was
Oh yeah,
totally
this is my
Texas
Lady
Chainsaw.
Leatherface story.
Yeah.
I took that from last podcast. I
Yep.
was like, that's a good explanation of her.
When my friend got married, we stayed at this Airbnb and it was filled with taxidermy animals.
Was it here?
No, this was in Montana.
Oh, that makes more sense.
Yeah, I mean, but like it was crazy because I was like, in Montana, haven't seen any wildlife. It's because it's all in this house. Like,
Yeah.
they had 3 stuffed bears,
Ooh.
including one like bear with a cub.
That's
Oh,
a
that's
little
sad.
much.
Oh no, it was
That's
horrifying.
illegal, isn't it?
It was horrifying.
Wasn't I with you when we questioned that guy about taxidermy dogs? We were at that event up on the South Hill.
Yes. And I told him,
And you're like, that's fucking weird.
I was like, I did. This is this guy's business. And I was just like, I'm sorry, but no.
He
No.
taxidermy dogs.
And yes.
And we were like, is this a
people's
joke?
Pets. And I was not having it. And
I was like,
just
I guess some people like that. And Tori goes, that's fucking weird.
because it is weird.
It
It's
definitely
weird.
was
It's
weird.
weird.
That's weird.
It's weird.
Nope.
Mm-mm.
So her house was full of everything. No space.
Just leather jackets and
And old
skulls
boots.
and rakes all over.
Skulls, horns, rusty animal traps. That sounds like a accident waiting to happen.
Well, yeah, she's got 3 kids, probably
Just open like bear traps
Hanging
that
out
are
with-
everywhere.
weapons.
She had an argument once where she hit Saunders in the face with an iron before stabbing him in the stomach with a pair of scissors. And again, he moved back to his house, as one does
Yeah,
when you get
right.
stabbed. When he later returned, he found that she had cut up all of his clothes. Saunders took long service leave and went into hiding.
I mean, like, I totally
Yeah, I
get it.
totally
Yeah,
do. Yeah,
I
this
would.
guy's a fucking genius. Knight tried to find him, but no one admitted to knowing where he was. Several months later, he returned to see his daughter and found that Knight had gone to the police and told them she was afraid of him. They issued her with a apprehended violence order, which is a restraining order. Next lover. What are we on 3 now? In 1990, Knight became pregnant again by a 43-year-old former abattoir coworker, John Chillingworth, and gave birth the following year to a boy named Eric. Their relationship lasted 3 years before she left him for a man that she had been having an affair with, John Price.
Was he also from the abattoir?
Yes.
Like, I mean,
She just
So
keeps,
many-
like,
I mean,
you
she's
gotta
got a type.
branch out past your workplace,
I
man.
mean,
Yeah.
and what a workplace.
Dude.
Right? This is what
Very.
you're bonding over?
She was having an affair with John Price. He was the father of 3 children when Knight started her affair with him. He was reputably a super nice dude. While his 2-year-old daughter remained with his former wife, the 2 older children lived with him. Price was super aware of her violent reputation, and she moved
Sorry,
into
let's
his
figure
house
out. I'm
in
sorry.
1995. In 1998, they had a fight over Price's refusal to marry her. Again, she was like super wanting to be married. These are my words. This bitch videotaped items that he had stolen from work and sent the tape to his boss.
Oh
And when
my
I say
God.
stolen, I mean out-of-date medical kits that he got from the trash can.
Oh.
Oh. Because at first I'm like, well, if he's stealing
Yeah, I know.
from
If he's
work,
being like a piece of shit.
whatever. But I mean,
I
why was
think
he
it was,
taking
like,
them anyway?
An
They-
out-of-date medical kit could have like fucking band-aids in it.
Oh,
You know what I
right,
mean?
right,
And
right,
he's like, so she videotaped it and was like, look, he fucking stole all these things. He was fired from his job that he had for 17 years
Wow.
because of a medical kit that they said would have been worth like $15.
That's
that was in the
ridiculous.
trash anyway.
Wow.
And this was because he said, I don't want to marry you. And she's like, fine, see what I'll fucking do. That same day, he kicked her out and she returned to her own house while news of what she did had spread throughout the town. In Crimes That Shook Australia, there's a woman on there, she's a journalist, her name's Sandra Lee. She said, that's the curious thing about Katherine Knight. She's happy to hurt even herself to get vengeance on someone else. There's no barriers that she won't cross. It did not make sense for her to get him fired. They lived together and she was on disability and they, you know.
He's like the breadwinner.
Yeah, he has a good job. And it said he was an alcoholic, but he was always the first one to work, the last one to leave, even if he passed out on the concrete the night before. Yeah. A few months later, Price restarted the relationship, although now he refused to allow her to move in with him. The fighting became even more frequent, and most of his friends would no longer have anything to do with him while they remained together. In February of 2000, a series of assaults on Price ended with Knight stabbing Price in the fucking chest. He kicked her out of the house again. On February 29th, must have been a leap year, he stopped at the Scone Magistrates Court on his way to work and took out a restraining order to keep her away from both him and his children. He was woken up at 2 a.m. the night before with her at the foot of the bed with her hands behind her back. And she was just like standing there with her hands behind her back. And he was terrified, thinking that she had a knife.
Yeah.
And he was like convinced he was going to die. He's like, this bitch is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I don't want to live in my fucking house. And she was just standing there at 2 a.m. staring at him. And he like woke up and was like, oh my God, what the fuck is going on? He leapt out of bed. And then she started like creepily, slowly walking towards him. And then he caught her reflection in the mirror.
Ew.
And saw that she was literally just being like a tease. She was literally just holding her fucking hands behind her back. So in the morning, he went and got the restraining order against him and his kids. And then that afternoon at work, he told his coworkers that if he ever missed work, it would be because Knight had killed him.
Well, see, he said something.
He said something. He did everything right.
Other than like maybe leaving her.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Well, so they pleaded with him not to go home, but he said that he thought she would kill his kids, which is still not the way to deal with this.
Right.
But
Take
holy
those
fuck.
kids and get the fuck out.
Yeah, fucking
Man.
disappear like the other dude. He arrived home that night and found that she had sent the kids away for like a sleepover at a friend's house. He spent the evening with his neighbors before going to bed at 11 p.m. Earlier that day, Knight had gone out and bought some black lingerie, and she did this weird thing where she videotaped herself and all of her children and made like a weird home video that like if you
With
watch
her
it
in her black lingerie?
No, sorry. She went out and bought the black lingerie, came home, started a video with her and her kids that was kind of like a will, is what it sounded like.
Weird.
And it like it doesn't really sound all there. It's just like a weird mishmash kind of thing. And was like, look, these are my kids. Blah, blah, blah.
Ugh.
So then he went to bed at 11 p.m., right? And she's in her own house. And so she arrived after he went to bed at like 11 or whatever. She arrived at his house while he was sleeping. And then she sat in his living room and watched TV for a few minutes before taking a shower upstairs. And then she woke up Price and they had sex. And then he fell asleep. I think she was like, hey, I'm staying the night here. They didn't live together, but like, whatever. At 6 a.m. the next morning, the neighbor became concerned that Price's car was still in the driveway. When he didn't arrive at work, his employer actually sent a worker to see what was going on because even his boss was like,
this is weird.
Yeah, at first the neighbor was like, and it was his work van that was in the, or work truck or whatever. And the neighbor was like, that's super weird. And then his employer also sent a worker to see what was wrong. Both the neighbor and the coworker tried knocking on his bedroom window to wake him up. And because they thought like maybe he overslept. And they went around to the front door and saw that there was like blood on the door. And they were like, no, let's call the police. So the police arrived at 8 a.m. Police tried to open the front door, but they couldn't. It was locked. And they had like a mail slot like I have at my house, but it was in their door.
Mm-hmm.
And they peeked through the mail slot and they saw like half of the room, but a curtain was covering the other half. And they're like, what the fuck? They can't see anything inside. So they go around to the back. They decided to break down the back door. So they knock down the back door and they start like walking through and they see blood everywhere, like on everything, all over the place. And as they're walking through, they get to the curtain and the cop like pushes the curtain aside and he notices that when he moves the curtain, it was cold and his arm was wet. And he looks at his arm and he's like, it's covered in blood. Like, what the fuck? And initially he thought he injured himself from breaking in the back door. That is not what happened.
And he's like, this is not my blood.
This is not my blood. And so what happens is he's like looking at this curtain and realized it's this guy's motherfucking skin hanging from the ceiling. Yeah. I literally said she hung his motherfucking pelt from a meat hook
Nope.
in the archway of their front door. It was literally his whole body, arms and legs, in one piece. She ripped his skin off in one piece. Yeah.
Wow.
And like I said, at first they thought it was a curtain, so they're like, what the fuck is going on? And it's
So the curtain that they saw when they looked through the peephole through
His
the
skin.
mailbox was his
skin hanging there.
Oh my God, Tori's not okay.
Tori's dying, I know.
I'm not okay.
The skin had no head, so it was just probably looked like a little onesie on a baby. When I went to the baby shower, there was a cookie of a onesie and it didn't have a head. Now that's exactly what it looks like, a little pelt body.
I'm just
that is
thinking
so disturbing. Nope.
I love that.
If I mean, just watch Texas Chainsaw. And
you'll get a good idea.
I mean, I was thinking kind of more of like the scene from Silence.
I was gonna say Silence.
Pumpkin.
Or...
Not that I'm admiring her in any way, but it seems like you would have to have a certain amount of skill to skin a man.
It was her job.
With but in one piece.
You skin deer like that. You skin it in one piece. And she did that job for 10 years. So she
yeah, right.
And she was frequently promoted. She was good at it.
Tori's
I'm feeling like super nauseous, not gonna lie.
She left a small square on his body of skin, and the square was the scar from where she stabbed him with scissors.
Like she wanted
Wow.
to
She
preserve
literally
that part.
kept it. I think it was in his stomach, and they're past the front door now. They're past the weird pelt. They find a torso without a head
and no skin, clearly.
No skin, clearly. I wrote in capital letters, blood was literally everywhere. In the kitchen, they found a pot on the stove with vegetables cut up. There were plates prepared like a tea party.
Nope.
They heard someone snoring in an upstairs bedroom, and they found Knight completely comatose from taking a large number of pills. They tried to shake her, wake her up. They said that she had no outward injuries. She looked like she had probably taken pills. They didn't know if she was trying to kill herself or what. So they picked her up and they carried her outside onto the back lawn where she fucking belongs. Oh, this is my favorite part. This will make you happy. All of her photos are absolutely ridiculous because she is literally always wearing a Tweety Bird shirt. Always. In every fucking picture.
Oh, how much worse is it going to get?
Just don't ever watch Hellraiser then. That's
Is that the guy with the pin?
Mm-hmm.
I never saw that.
Did
He
skin people?
Well, it's hard to explain. It's very graphic. It's very gory.
I like the suspense, like horror and suspense. I am not a Saw.
I love those, but I love the psychological ones. That's
you
why
guys
I
are
like Saw.
psychological thrillers.
When I lived in South Carolina, we went to Boone Hall Plantation for their Halloween thing, and they had this haunted house that they had done. And we see these 14-year-old girls come out the end, and they're like, and laughing and can't breathe or whatever. And we were just like, oh my God, teenagers. And so we go in, and I don't know, we got to one point where we went into this room, and I tried to double back, and they won't let you.
Nope.
They push you forward. But there was a guy in that room who was supposed to be the guy from Saw, and I literally cocked my arm. I was so close to punching this guy right there because he came right up to me, and I'm like, ugh!
Have you guys ever seen the videos? Oh, I think I asked you this, of the Working with Saw videos. You would probably love them.
Yes, yeah.
Oh my God, I'll send it later. They carry her outside onto the back lawn. What they know based on just looking at what happened, it appears as though she stabbed Price with a butcher knife while he was sleeping. According to the blood evidence, he actually woke up, got out of bed, and ran to turn on the light because there was blood on the light switch. He actually made it all the way to the front door, which sucks.
That's like a horror movie when they make it all the way to the front door and they can't get out.
He made it all the way to the front door, opened it, and the other thing that they noticed too is the blood started at the top and then it started moving downwards, which means he was literally falling. And there was evidence that she literally, when he got to the front door, she grabbed him by his back legs and dragged him back to where she ended up killing him.
That is seriously like a horror movie.
It's straight up.
He managed to open the front door and actually get outside, but he stumbled back and then was dragged into the hallway where he died after bleeding out. After this, at some point, she went into Aberdeen and withdrew, I think this is so weird, withdrew $1,000 from his account. And the money has never been found and they think it might be buried? Why the fuck would you bury $1,000?
Did she probably
Maybe if she was gonna like,
did she maybe have like an episode, like a manic mental break or
well,
something?
she maybe was like burying money so that, I mean, she just murdered somebody. So you figure she's on some level got to be thinking, maybe I should get out of town.
Yeah, that's true.
Price's autopsy revealed that he had been stabbed at least 37 times in both the front and back of his body, which kind of makes me think she probably stabbed him in bed, and as he's running, she's like she's trying to like get him down.
Yeah.
And he was asleep, so like he had no. I mean,
so he just
there's
woke
not
up
even
to
a
being
chance.
stabbed.
Yeah, and it's dark. Like, oh my god, you're fucking stabbed him 37 times in the front and back of his body, with many of the wounds extending into vital organs.
Like, I mean, that is force.
Mhm.
Like you to
And
get through
super-
skin and
Well,
bone.
she's probably
and
strong.
Luckily, if there is a luckily, the autopsy revealed that he was dead when he was skinned. So that's good. This might be a trigger warning for you. It's just how she did it. She used a razor sharp knife that had been inserted just under his collarbone and then sliced horizontally across the top of his body from shoulder to shoulder right into the clavicles. It was a straight, clean cut, anatomically precise. Then the knife was turned and cut down the chest and over the stomach to the like pubic bone and made into a T with another straight line. She traced the knife tip around his pubic area and was careful to not cut his penis.
Did she skin the penis or did she leave the skin on that?
So-
You know what? I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't need to know.
The killer then peeled the victim's skin off, including his head, his hair, his face, and all the way down the length of his body to his feet, exposing the victim's intestines. The entire skin was in one piece, including hair, face, ears, nose, mouth, genitals, and complete stab genitals and complete stab holes and dripping in blood. What the fuck sentence is that? He was hanging there. Yeah.
That's a late night writing this.
Yeah, seriously. The killer removed the victim's head clean at the C3, C4 vertebrae right at the top of the shoulders.
That's how she feels about it.
The cut was precise and clean, but the killer would have been like covered in blood. According to forensic pathologist Dr. Timothy Lyons, who performed the autopsy, the whole procedure would have only taken about 40 minutes. She then decapitated him and cooked parts of his body, serving up the meat with baked potato, pumpkin, zucchini, cabbage, yellow squash, and gravy. And she had them plated in the two settings at the dinner table, along with notes beside each plate, each having the name of one of his children on it.
No.
She was going to feed him to his children.
No.
A third meal was thrown on the back lawn for the dog.
Nope.
It's speculated that Knight had attempted to eat it but couldn't. This is all.
Hey.
This is supposed to say hearsay and autocorrected to heresy. So
Well, it is heresy.
yeah, I mean, if she did throw it out for the dog, even the dog wouldn't eat it. The piece that she cut was his butt, his gluteus
Oh, yeah.
maximus, and then she baked them. And two of them were on one plate, two of them were on another, one was in the backyard. Price's head was found in the pot with the vegetables. And so according to the video, the police, they walked in, they see his torso, they don't find his head. And they said when they first walked in, he said it smelled like my mom's kitchen.
Ugh.
Yeah,
So
he's
gross.
like, it smelled really good. And then I saw the body, obviously, no longer thinks it smells good. And then there's no head. And then they saw the pot and they're like
who looked in the pot? I'm having like the whole, what's in the box?
Yeah. That's exactly what Michael said. He literally said that exact same phrase. He's like, what's in the box? I was like, that's a perfect reference for this. So as soon as they saw the pot, the police are like, I'll give you one guess where like the head is. Yeah. So Price's head was found in the pot with vegetables. The pot was still warm. Sometime later, Knight arranged the body with the left arm draped over an empty, like 2-liter soda bottle with the legs crossed. So that's how they found the torso, with no head, but he's like set up to be like chilling just there.
my.
It was claimed in court to be an act of defilement demonstrating Knight's contempt for Price. None of the food had been touched, even though there were nameplates and everything. At this point, Katherine was technically in custody, but she was still recovering in the hospital from taking a shit ton of pills. Blood was everywhere. Like I said, it was moving downward as he's moving forward, showing that he was falling. You can even see the dripping blood where she carried the head from the hallway onto the stovetop. She did like scalp him, and there was no like hair in it or anything, but
Well, because that would be gross.
oh
my God, I'm like so disturbed.
I know, it's really gross. So a lot of people say it's one of those things that if you saw it in a horror movie, you'd be like, okay.
It's true.
Okay.
It's
She was
true.
gonna serve it to his kids. So now to the trial. So Knight's initial offer to plead, she initially wanted to plead guilty to manslaughter, which was immediately rejected. Yeah, immediately rejected. She was arraigned on February 2nd, 2001 on the charge of murdering Price, to which she entered a plea of not guilty. Her trial was initially fixed for the 23rd of July of 2001, but was adjourned due to the counsel's illness, and it was refixed for the 15th of October. When the trial commenced, Justice Barry O'Keefe offered the 60 jury prospects the option of being excused due to the nature of photographic evidence, and 5 accepted. When the witness list was read out to the prospects, several more also dropped out. Knight's attorneys...
Like, I would have been that one. I would have been like, me, please.
Nice.
I'd like to go.
Knight's attorneys then spoke to the judge, who adjourned the following day. The next morning, Knight changed her plea to guilty, and the jury was dismissed. So it was made public that Justice O'Keefe had been advised of the plea change the day before. He had adjourned the trial, and then he ordered a psychiatric assessment overnight to determine if Knight understood the consequences of a guilty plea and was fit to make such a plea. Her legal team had planned to defend her by claiming amnesia and disassociation,
Oh my God.
which I said was total trash.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So basically, she came in and entered a plea of not guilty and then changed it to guilty, and they were going to say guilty because she was crazy.
Yeah.
Knight was portrayed as a vindictive and cruel woman who harmed everyone who crossed her. However, during the trial, many commented that she looked like anyone's mother, a meek and mild-looking woman who hid the facade of a monster. If you saw her in a crowd, you wouldn't like point her out. She just looked like a normal lady. Despite pleading guilty, Knight still refused to accept responsibility for her actions. At the sentencing hearing, Knight's lawyers requested that Knight be excused to avoid hearing some of the facts.
Oh my God. Fuck off.
Yeah, but the
Oh,
application...
I don't remember what
Off,
I did, and I
bitch.
just can't stand to listen to it.
Ugh, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. When Dr. Timothy Lyons took the stand and described the skinning and decapitation, she became hysterical and had to be sedated. She was straight up playing into this. She literally started like rocking like she
Oh
had
my
been
God.
like possessed.
Ugh.
And the judge was like, fuck you.
I hate
Good.
He was literally like, I know what you're fucking
You
doing.
are
Fucking stop.
Get out.
On the 8th of November, Justice O'Keefe pointed out that the nature of the crime and Knight's lack of remorse required a severe penalty. So she was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, and her papers were to be marked never to be released.
Good.
So she's still alive?
She is the first woman in history to ever be sentenced to life in prison, in Australian history.
I
Sorry.
went to look up, I put in does Australia, and I got, does Australia have bears? That's one of the most common looked up things.
One time I tried to Google if you could get bleach out of something, and the first thing that popped up was how to get bleach out of your eyes. And I was like, oh my God. I read
What
it.
are people doing?
It's basically said you'd go blind. As the judge, Justice O'Keefe, presiding over her trial, claimed, the last minutes of John Price's life must have been a time of abject terror for him, as they were a time of utter enjoyment for her. She has not expressed any contrition or remorse, and if released, she poses a serious threat to the security of society. In June 2006, Knight appealed the life sentence, claiming that a penalty of life in jail without the possibility of parole was too severe.
You skinned a man.
Yeah, you skinned a man trying to feed him to his kids.
Like, I think
Bitch,
we're good here.
yeah.
Justices Peter McClellan, Michael Adams, and Megan Latham dismissed the appeal in the NSW Court of Appeal in September, with Justice McClellan writing in his judgment, this was an appalling crime, almost beyond contemplation in a civilized society.
He's not wrong.
No, he's not.
And that's Katherine Mary Knight.
But so she only killed the one.
As far as we
Lover.
know. I mean, she tried to kill
That
her
we know
kid.
of. Yeah.
Right. When she tried to kill her baby and,
Kind of just thought she was a weirdo.
Right. Yeah.
But she obviously showed.
I feel like this happens so much with serial killers.
It does.
And it's like you
It's
start reading like
crazy.
how lucky can these people, like with Yates, like he had all of these different contacts with the police, and you're like, how lucky can one person be?
Yeah.
And it's like they have some weird sort of like thing that help, I don't know.
it's
I don't
weird.
know. It's crazy. I'm getting tired.
There was a comment in Murderpedia that said she will probably not be working in the prison kitchen anytime soon. But apparently she's like the HBIC in prison. Like she's the bitch you don't like.
I wouldn't mess with her.
Yeah,
it
I
makes
wouldn't
sense.
fucking either.
I'm not sure she should be in like Gen Pop. You
I
know,
would agree.
Like,
She should probably be Maxman.
like
Yeah.
solitary,
Stay in your cell.
Like she
Yeah.
literally skinned a dude.
Yeah,
She skinned a man.
put his head in a pot and was gonna feed him, or at the very least wanted his kids to find him like that.
Yeah.
And that's just
So that's Katherine Mary Knight.
Lady Leatherface.
so. This I feel very much like the Emily Morris story that we talked about, where like I think that was a really good story. I think you told it really well, but I'm really glad we're done with her. And then I don't know. I'm gonna sleep well tonight.
I'm sorry.
Just watch some Eurovision.
Ooh, Eurovision.
Watch something that's not true crime.
Yeah, I need to, seriously, I need to lay off the true crime. You can follow us on Instagram at Three's a Crime, email us at threesacrime@gmail.com, listen wherever you get your podcasts. And to support Three's a Crime and our adventures, visit our link tree in our Instagram bio.